Welcome to Authentically Woman, a sanctuary dedicated to empowering women. We are a faith-based healing circle focused on changing perspectives and inspiring healing through authenticity and vulnerability. Join us in this journey of empowerment and healing. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Tinashe Mujera. I'm an author, I'm a marketplace professional, and I'm a woman of God. I am a representation of tested faith. I represent my healed wounds that left ugly scars. This is the Faith in Action podcast that has been created to help you find the journey to your true self through conversations and lessons shared. Hello, good day, good morning, good evening, depending on which part of the world you're listening and watching us from. Welcome to the Faith in Action podcast with me, your host, Tinashe Mujera. I'm super excited as usual for this particular episode, as we are going to be going deep into a very vulnerable and sensitive topic or story that we rarely talk about. And we have a special guest who has experienced some of the things that we will be unpacking today, and will share her story to hopefully heal somebody out there and hopefully bring some enlightenment and direction to somebody who needs it, particularly in the healing space. Now, speaking of healing, if you're a woman and you haven't joined our safe haven, Authentically Woman, you are missing out. You definitely need to make sure you join our Facebook group, Authentically Woman with an A, not an E, and Authentically Woman on Instagram. That's our handle on Instagram. Please do join us, follow us, particularly if you're a woman, like I said, who is looking for a safe space, a woman of like-mindedness that are seeking encouragement, that are seeking healing, that are seeking to share stories from a place of authenticity and genuineness. We are all about a healing circle. We are all about growing and evolving together. Remember, this season is a season for women, and God is turning the tide. You don't want to miss out on a community that really represents that and moves with God's voice. Now, back to the Faith in Action podcast. I have an exciting guest today, and I don't want to waste time because we don't want to miss out on all the wisdom she has for us. Her name is Nance Segale. I hope I pronounced that right. And she's here to share on a very sensitive topic, like I said, which involves gender-based violence, which involves a lot of healing through multiple rape cases on one person. Well, let me not even go into the topic, but I'm going to read her bio, and I'm going to read her bio quickly so that you guys get to know who we have in the house. Her name is Nance Segale. Nancy is a born-again Christian who is passionate about Christ. She is part of associate pastors at Hope Restoration Ministries, South Africa. A wife, a mother of two amazing girls, and has adopted over 50 boys and girls whom she mentors and gives counsel to on an ongoing basis. She's passionate about other people's well-being and has brought a lot of girls under her care. She has studied analytical chemistry and total quality management, has been working in the pharmaceutical industry for over 30 years. She has now taken a complete change in her career path to align with God's purpose for her life. Amazing. And in that, she also holds an NLP life coach certification. And in 2023, she completed a program in basic counseling. She's currently studying orientation and background to HIV/AIDS care and counseling through UNISA. She's also the founder and CEO of Vanyana Safe Haven. Beautiful. A nonprofit organization with the mission of restoring the lives of sexually abused women and children so that they live abundant lives full of God's love. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me to welcome Nance Segale to the Faith in Action podcast. Nancy, welcome, welcome, my dear sis.
Thank you so much. It is a pleasure and a great opportunity to be part of this podcast. And I really thank God for allowing our paths to cross, that I would find myself in this space. Thank you.
Amazing. It's such an honor and a pleasure to have you join us. So thank you again for accepting and honoring this invite to the Faith in Action podcast. We don't take your valuable wisdom for granted. We honor you. We honor the work that you do, the amazing work that you're doing, particularly with Vanyana Safe Haven. And we want you to share all of that with us as we continue to converse within the podcast. To those that are watching and listening, our podcast title today is Saved by a Voice. How Nancy found God's love amidst trauma. And now she's going to unpack that as we continue within the conversation. Now, sis, I just want you to describe your journey of healing with us in one word and why.
Oh, I would think of so many words, but forgiveness tops them all.
Sure.
Yeah, and it's been a very long journey with God, and at some stage without Him, but through forgiveness, He has put me where I am today, and I'm grateful.
Sure. That's really deep, sis. Forgiveness. Wow. Why forgiveness?
I think in the space that I grew in, um, I had one of my relatives who would say to me that I needed to know what a man feels like, even at my youngest age, before I could even meet another man outside, where I thought it's a safe space for me. And for the rest of me, I've been running away from that environment. And uh, at the age of 17, I was raped, like you said in the beginning, and as well at the age of 25. So through all that, yeah, it has been traumatic, but finding God's um, not forgiveness, finding God and forgiving helped me to be where I am today.
Amazing, sis. I mean, wow, forgiveness. Shoo.
Mhm.
That's a very deep word. I mean, forgiveness is a deep word. I don't even want to start unpicking it, but why forgiveness for you? Why that word?
Forgiveness for me, it means, when God says, I have forgiven your sins,
Mm,
and how He has taught me. Because for me, I was not willing to forgive. And the way He taught me how to forgive, He made it so easy to forgive the person who has hurt me, should I say, little. Like if somebody would rape you and you're not willing to forgive that person,
mm,
and God helps you to forgive that person. So anybody else who would have stolen my phone or anything else. So for me, he has made life to be easy. Even when he says rest, I know what he's talking about,
mm.
because he has taken that very pain that was cutting my heart in two. So he really made life easy for me.
Sure. I mean, I love what you're saying, and I'm just going to divert a little bit and just deep dive into that response. And it's really important that we understand, and I mean for the viewers and the watchers, the listeners as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's difficult when somebody has done you wrong. You have done nothing to them. They have done you wrong, but you are expected to forgive. And you are saying here, I was not willing to forgive. What were the benefits for you of now coming into a place of forgiveness? And what did it do for you in as much as it did for them?
I have learned from God, like I was saying. Um, it, I'm not sure if we're still going to go further into this, but it happened when I was raped the second time, and I felt lost. And in my space, I felt I was not worth living. Why is this continuing to happen to me? That I don't understand. Or is my body different from any other woman? Why only
Mm,
me? But then when God, after he has taught me what forgiveness is, what I could pick up is that I was the one who was feeling the pain. And one thing that I also learned was that we carry the burden, we carry the head in our
mm,
hearts, and our perpetrators are continuing to live a very simple life. They enjoy what they are doing. They don't even think or remember what they
mm,
have done. And here we are miserable, thinking that we are useless, we are hopeless. I think it's such things that God have shown me to say, look, no one will come back to you and say, I'm sorry I've done this to you.
mm,
And one of the perpetrators, like I'm talking now, he passed on. But then how do I expect him to come back and say, I'm
mm,
sorry? And the one who's still alive, he will never come back to me and say, I'm sorry. I'm not sure why he did it. But the one thing that kept me hanging on God to say, I need to understand this. You cannot expect me to forgive somebody who has hurt me so much. I need I need to understand. I understand you are God. If I sin, you forgive me. But you cannot expect me to do it like you do. I don't have that strength. I'm angry because I was even angry at God when it
mm.
happened. The second time it was even
Sure,
worse. I thought, you don't love me. If you cared enough, you would not have let it happen
sure,
to me.
sure.
So, yeah, in the process of Him teaching me about forgiveness, it has been a long journey, a very painful, long journey. I battled with perpetrators. Now I was battling with
Mm,
God that I will not do what you want me
mm,
to do, because if you cared enough, you would have
yeah,
healed me. I would not be where I am today.
mm, sure. Sis Nancy, this is deep. I'm loving what you are sharing with us. And you say that our perpetrators don't care. They are living their best life, and it's you that is carrying the burden and the hurt, and you are holding on to that burden and hurt. It's like a, you know, umthwalo. It's like this baggage that you've got on you that's not going anywhere, and you're moving around with it every single day. And you're saying, I don't want to let
Mhm,
go of it. And thank you for bringing that enlightenment that it is on us to release that burden off us because our perpetrators are out there
mhm.
enjoying their lives. Now, what is the one unexpected lesson or one thing you want to share with us that you learned about yourself in this process of forgiveness and this process of healing from all that you went through?
Yeah, and I really don't want to leave a space that some people could have been maybe more hurt than I have been, maybe in a state where it was not just one person raping you at an event, at a specific a series, or it happened once, but maybe with 3 or 4 men or a lot of men doing it at the same time. And I don't want to overlook that and think maybe my cases were different and were much horrible than somebody else's. All that I'm saying is that, you know, forgiveness gives you freedom. It really gives you freedom. And I have learned who God is in my pain. My reason is that I only knew that God gives salvation, and that was it. And unless if you go through pain and you allow Him to heal you and to teach you how to, when I look at the living perpetrator, the one that I'm saying is still alive now, I remember I met him, I think, on 2 occasions. And every time I looked at him, there was no pain. I never felt that, that anger that will arise in you and think, if you can just fall and die. I did not have that. I felt pity for him. I felt sorry for him because I just could not understand why he did it. But he looked more miserable than when he did the act. And I thought, Lord, this man really needs salvation. I could not even comprehend me praying for somebody who has hurt me so much. But I knew that that was the time that I needed to say to God, save this
That's
man.
right. Sure.
Yeah. And forgiveness is not for the perpetrator. Or even when we're not talking about rape, we're talking about any other type of abuse. Forgiveness is not for them. It is for
Sure.
yourself. It's a decision that you take, that you know what, I forgive this person because it's me who's hurting. Every time they mention their names, you feel the
That's
pain.
right.
Every time you see them, you feel the pain.
Sure.
And when you forgive, God allows you to have that freedom to 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 feel that load removed from your shoulder. I'm not sure how to explain this, but it is peaceful that peaceful moment, and in it I have learned to trust God, that even when I go into a miserable state, it being whether finance or anything, and I say, I have seen you putting me where I am today. I chose to kill myself when I was 25, and you saved me. So save me now, because I know that you are the same God who saved me then. I never thought I would see 55, because at 25, I felt life should just end
That's
here.
right. Sure. Yeah, Sister Nance, there's a lot to unpack here. I'm really, really sure. Thank you for sharing your heart and pouring. I mean, continue to pour. I love that you're just pouring on us and touching on different aspects. Forgiveness gives you freedom, you said. It gives you freedom, you said. Now, I want to take you a little back to what you commented on right now and spoke about you seeing the perpetrator
Mm-hmm.
and you felt nothing but pity. Oh, rather, you felt sorry for me. And I'm reminded of the scripture in the Word of God where, Jesus is on the cross and he's about to go and he says, the same people he's dying for to save, he says, Lord, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. He was not angry at them. He did not feel, hurt and pain. He did not say, you make sure that they get double the pain I'm receiving now. He says, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. And for me, that's what you are saying here when you say you looked at the perpetrator and you felt nothing but pity for them. And it feels almost like that is the epitome of healing. Am I right in saying that? Please unpack for us what that level of understanding or seeing means. Is that when we know that we've healed, or how do we know that we have healed really?
I truly agree with you. It is that moment when you know that I am healed. Because as much as I'm saying that, when you still are hurting, when you hear the name, just the mention of the name of the perpetrator, or you see him, and then there's that anger and rage that rises within you, then you know that you are not
Mm,
healed. But then when I saw him and I felt that, I knew that God has done it for
that's
me.
right.
And you know, you know, there are so many gods in this world, and I want to explain that I'm talking about the God of Jesus
Wow.
Christ, the very one who gives salvation. When I got born again at 20, I did not expect him to be the God that he
Mm,
is. He is very different. And the healing that he gave me, I remember there was a time, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago. I met this young girl. Um, she had just been raped, because, like I'm saying, that I do uh, counseling, and I meet these young girls, I meet women who has gone through the same thing. And I for the first time I said, Lord, thank you.
mm,
And you know why I was thanking him? That I went through rape.
wow.
Because this young girl has been talking to people and no one has made
Sure.
sense, for the fact that they did not understand what she was going through.
Yeah.
But after I sat down with her and I spoke to her and I said, look at me, just look at me and tell me if I'm not having life in
Mm,
abundance. I may not have all the money in the world, but look at me.
wow.
This is God.
Mm,
This is the God who
wow.
heals.
Wow.
And she looked at me and said, for the first time, I hear somebody who makes sense from what I'm going
Wow.
through.
Wow. Wow.
And I said, Lord, thank you. I was
Wow.
raped.
Wow.
And no one can ever thank God for that. But I did.
Sure. Wow, sis.
And I knew that I am healed, that I'm able to say to somebody else, look at me. This is not my doing. This is God who
Mm,
heals. And I look at her today. I look at that young girl. She was hopeless. Like, she didn't even want to go back to school. And you look at her today, and
yeah.
I can just thank God for her life and nothing more.
Wow. That is a true testament of turning pain into purpose. And I truly believe that all the pain and our life's journeys and all that we go through is indeed for a purpose. I have no doubt whatsoever now. I think now more than ever before, I am truly convinced and convicted that indeed he is a God who turns our pain into purpose and has a reason and a cause for all that we go through. He knows best, and all we need to do is
Mm,
just to follow through. Thank you for sharing that part, sis. Now, I want to talk about rape
yeah.
and particularly multiple events of rape. What
Mhm.
do they do to an individual?
Wow.
What are the effects? How does it feel afterwards? And what does it do to a person's whole being, particularly girls and young women?
Yeah. It tears one apart. It I think we may be affected differently, but one thing that I know, it shatters
Hmm,
you. When a glass falls and it breaks into two, you're able to take some form of glue and just stick it together, put it to dry, or maybe a vase, stick it to dry, and then you put it back on a display. Yeah, no, this is a shatter, a complete shatter, where you would not even know which piece belongs where,
hmm,
because it takes you. out of yourself. It makes you feel dirty. No matter how much you wash, no matter how much you scrub yourself, you come out of the bath and you still feel dirty. As if that was enough, then you want to report it. And then they make you feel like most you wanted it. Why were you doing that? Why were you wearing that? Why did you talk to him? Don't you know that married man? Or don't you know that he's got a girlfriend? They will give you all the questions. What were you doing there? Why did you walk at night? You know, the 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 the, the, the community, the culture around issue of rape or GBV, people will make you feel like you are the one at fault.
That's
If
right.
you did not do that, if you did not wear that, if you did not go there, this would not have happened. I remember counseling one girl at some stage, and she was saying, Mommy, I was coming from work. I knocked off 30 minutes later, and normally when she leaves, there's still people around town. But this time, because it's 30 minutes later, she had to finish a project. And then now she's working alone, and then they raped her. I said, but it's not your fault. You had to finish the project. You always use that road. So what is it that you did differently? So I'm just saying that how we are treated.
Yeah.
Sometimes you try to gather yourself out of the pain, and then people around you or the community, they shatter you even worse. So yeah, that is how you feel, and mostly that's what causes people not to talk about it. After the issue of rape, you just keep quiet. You live with it. You try to close that door, but one thing that I know, that door doesn't get locked forever. One day it just splash itself right in front of your face, and now you have to deal with it. You need to deal with it. So speak out. For me,
Sure.
that's the best medication. You speak out. Because what the perpetrators would always say, if you say anything, I will kill you.
Sure.
So rather you die inside because you are quiet. And the dying inside is far much more painful, probably, than being killed. Because at least then you are not going to think about it.
That's right.
But then waking up every morning, seeing your perpetrator walking streets, and sometimes they're even on TV, and you don't know where to turn to. You can't even say anything to anyone because you don't want to die, but you are dying inside.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah.
tears one up. It
Yeah.
really does.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is quite deep what you're saying here right now. And it's a lot of things you're saying, and it's one the torment that one goes through. Yes, the identity is taken away, but if it's when you receive the threat of I will kill you and all sorts of things, and also you receive now this feedback from society to say, but what were you doing there? Why exactly like I said, but it's the road I use every day anyway. It's almost as though they want to turn that and blame you. I don't know if it's an African society issue where we have not normalized and understood that gender-based violence is real and people go through it, and we do need to believe when someone has said it. I mean, what you're saying resonates because I remember meeting a young girl, I think of about 18, and she says her mother ordered an Uber for her. And she got onto the Uber, the mom can see from the app, but then she was not getting home. And she was coming from a birthday party of a friend. I'm assuming they were wearing, 18-year-olds,
Yes.
whatever they were. This man decided to stop by way the side of the road and raped her. And she says when she tried to explain to the mother, the mom could not hear her out. She could not. I don't know if it's because she was too scared to unpack the story too, or what was going on. But she says the mom blamed her that why did she even go for the party yet she had been allowed to go, and then blamed her that why did you wear this and that. And I just want you to touch a little bit on that, Sis Nancy, is what can we do in the African society to normalize this? Or why can we not understand that this is a thing? And when someone says, I've been abused and raped, that we need to take it seriously.
No, it's really sad, and I think in many families from the girls that I have met is that I think for them it's a taboo. It's
Mm,
something that should not be spoken about. Uh, no, no, no. O tlo re hlaza, hobane you just want to bring a disgrace in our family.
yeah,
Hey, we cannot talk about this thing, even if they don't know the perpetrator. But
mm,
just that word alone, it's just we cannot talk about it. Just leave it. We're not talking about it. And it's
yeah,
really sad because at that time you need you need community. You
yeah,
need people around you. You need people who would say, I love you still. Because at that moment you are out of yourself. You don't want this body anymore. And that sometimes causes young girl or women to take their lives. And it's really sad. I really want to touch on the three groups of young women, or some they may be old, but girls, women, and young women who sometimes go through GBV or they experience it being whether via their families or around communities, whereby I think the first group is the rate of pregnant young girls in schools. I mean, from the age of 10 right up to girls at matric. We always look at these young girls and we think, yo, by papa. They jump into sex matters while they're still young. No, some of them could have been raped and they were
yeah.
told, don't say anything. And now she has to make a story that no, I have a boyfriend, even though she knows it's not true. She was told, if you say anything, I kill you.
Mm,
And yet, it's a taboo. We don't talk about it. I'm looking at uh, young girls who, some of them, or even boys, who some of them end up being um, in the community of the GBV, the lesbian community or the gay community. Some of them is the trauma that they have experienced from home or they have experienced from communities to say, I don't want a man near me. If a man can do 1, 2, 3 to a woman, I'd rather stay with another woman. And I really feel sorry for those girls and those boys who go through life and change the people that they are just because they don't want the opposite sex because they know that it's those people who cause pain. The
mm,
third group is um, the sex workers. They are called prostitutes. You know, at the age of 13, I had a thought of leaving home to go and stay in the streets.
sure.
And I thought, how am I going to survive? And I thought, I think if I sleep with people at that
Mm,
age, and I thought, I'll make money through sex. I have never seen a prostitute in my
sure.
life at that age because I'm from a township. I'm sure prostitutes were in in suburbs and in towns, but I've never seen one. But the thought, and I didn't even know that they are so called, whether sex workers or prostitute or whatever name that is being used now. But that thought came to say, I will not allow anybody in my community to use me this way. I'd rather run away from home, because if I tell my parents, then they say, I'm going to kill
Sure.
you. So if my parents can know, rather I run away. And then now we look at these young girls, and we call them sex workers, and yeah, they don't know how to behave. What type of life is theirs? Some of them are running away from the traumas that they have seen, that they have experienced, and that they cannot even control. So the best thing is to run
That's
away
right.
from home.
Sure. Wow, sis. Thank you for unpacking those three categories. Indeed, it resonates. And it's because people are not understanding at home and they're not willing to hear of such stories. Like you said, you are rendered a disgrace to the family. And I believe that for those that are watching and listening, you are learning and leaning onto one or two things and understanding this topic and aspect of rape, of gender based violence, of abuse, that we may be awakened to this core and understand that it is not because our young girls or young boys have done anything on purpose to deserve this. Some of the many stories are actually stories like these, which are genuine, where someone was literally taken advantage of because of their gender. Now,
Mhm.
Sis Nancy, I want you to unpack for us what it means, or the view, the distortion of the view of men, particularly for young girls and women that are abused. I mean, I don't know for yourself what it did for you, but what is the distortion of men, the view of God, because we believe that God our Father, of course, is our Father. And so the view of God,
Mhm.
the view of men, which is the gender men or male, what does it do to one after having gone through such abuse?
Wow. I remember after the ordeals, and I really hated men. Like, I did not want to associate with them, because all that I know is that they cause pain. And I remember, when I got born again, I was around 20. I was at school in Durban, and then in that space, we had another college coming to visit us. It was a group of young born again Christian, both young adults, male and female. And within that group, there were two guys, and they behaved very strangely, like, very strangely. Like, for the first time, I could see a man respecting how he speaks to a woman, how he looks at a woman. And I thought, something is not right with these people. But it felt comfortable to be around them. And after a few days, because they came for almost a week at our college, and then they left back to their college. And when I went back during holidays, I went to see them. And I said to God, because at that time I was born again, and I said, God, are these men real, or they are only pretending? Because to me, a man is somebody who just causes pain. And I think how I looked at them and how they behaved in front of me completely changed how I perceived a man, because I would not even be married. How I did not want a male figure around me. I only trusted my dad and my uncle. Those were the only men who has never caused me pain. So I did not want anything around me, especially a male figure.
Sure, sure.
So yeah, For me, I think for my dad, it's because we were staying in the same house. And then my uncle has raised me with my mom and my aunt. So I could at least live with them, even though they may have had their challenges. But then because there were male figures around me, if I had a choice, I would just push them away
Sure,
as well.
sure, sure. Thank you for sharing your heart, sis, on that particular question, particularly on the view, the distortion of the view that we then have towards men and towards God, and unpacking that for us. And
Mm.
I'm going to come back with a part two to that question. Now, Nancy, I want to ask a question regarding the voice that you had. We've titled this episode, or rather centered it around that voice that you had, saved by a voice. Um, and we want you to unpack what
Mm.
that was like. What voice was it? Where did it happen? What had happened? Who did it come from? And what did it stop you from doing?
It indeed was a voice of hope, a voice of that has caused me to be here today. It was after the rape, um, and I had decided that I'm going to take my life. It was something that I had been contemplating, but I did not know how to do it. Um, and then one day, while I was waiting for a taxi, then I saw this van coming at a very high speed. I'm not sure where the driver was rushing to, but for me, it was an opportunity. I saw such a great opportunity that he's not going to miss me because he's not expecting me to jump in front of that vet. And I knew that I needed to do it. So I marked a spot that as soon as he drives onto that spot, I'm going to jump in. And then he will not have a time to move a car in any direction. Because if he does, he's going to kill himself. And I did not even care who was in the van, did not care if those people were going to die with me. All that matters was that I wanted to be killed by that van on that day. And yo, every time the tires were rolling, it was just giving me this peace that finally, I was going to do it because I did not want to live another day. While waiting for my moment, suddenly somebody behind me says, "Uyetsang," in my language, meaning, what are you doing? And I knew I was standing there alone, like I was alone. And suddenly, an audible voice, like I'm talking, a clear, audible voice, "Uyetsang." And I turned, and there was no one. And I wondered, now when I looked in front, that van has passed. And I knew that I will never get such an opportunity. I was crying. I was in, and I wondered for a moment to know what happened, who was talking because there's no one there. And suddenly I hear a very subtle voice. It is God, it is me. And I said, not you, not you. Where I am now, it's because you did not take care of myself. You did not take care of me. That is why I'm here. I'm taking this decision because you did not do your part. I don't want to talk to you. I hated God. I did not want to hear anything from him because I gave him my life. He said, come to me because you are heavy laden. I was heavy laden of the previous rape. Now, this one, and I want to take care of it and just finish everything. And then you tell me not to do that. I wailed. And then the taxi came. Like I was crying inside the taxi. People could not understand, and I did not want anyone to talk to me. because I was feeling like I've been robbed of death and I may not get it
Mm,
again. And maybe if I can say that during that time, I only knew the Holy Spirit. I call him the gentle one. I only knew that he was a dove. He was wind blowing. Those signs that the Bible will tell the Holy Spirit is
mm,
this, is a dove. Yeah, that's all that I knew about him. But from that day, I learned who he
sure.
is. He took care of me daily. Because remember, when you are born again and you are young and something horrible happens to you, so people will try to move away so that they don't get the stigma attached to
Mm,
them. So, like, I could feel I'm not having as many friends as I used to. So, when he came into my life, you know, there was a day when I was crying because I was feeling the pain I cannot handle. And I felt this physical hug. When you physically hug somebody, you touch, you can actually feel somebody touching
yeah,
you. I felt
sure.
that. And and I felt the Holy Spirit hugging me, like literally hugging me. And that gave me so much peace. And now when most of the time when I hug somebody, I remember I had a colleague, she just lost a parent, and I hugged her, and people were hugging her. It was a normal hug, like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And then after everything else, when she came back to work, she came to me and said, I've hugged so many people during this time when I've lost a parent, but your hug was so
Wow.
different. I felt peace. I felt this comfort within me. And I thought, I don't know what you're talking
Mm,
about. And ever since then, it has been happening to other people. And I wonder if that hug that he gave me that day is not what is filtering to other
sure.
lives. Tinashe, I will not lie. I have received God's peace, love, and healing. I don't pretend His healing. I live it every day. It's something that it's within me. I experience it daily,
Wow.
and 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 I believe that it's what forgiveness does. If when God forgives us, that is why the Bible says He forgives us, and He, like, our sins, north is as far
Mm,
as the south is, the east as far as the west is. I just feel that way. If I would have a dinner with my perpetrator, I would do that.
wow.
And that's the forgiveness that God gives to us.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. I'm absolutely wowed by your healing journey and just how you express and speak about healing. In even when you speak, it's almost like it filters out, and your words are healing and they're soothing as well. And it's really true that you've received the fullness of what healing really represents. Now, sis, there are countless individuals who feel alone in their suffering and wonder if God even cares and still loves them, and they're out there and they've, you know, experienced multiple pain, different sorts of pain, rape, abuse. They have nowhere else to go. They have no one who can hear them. And perhaps they're listening now to this podcast and they're stuck to you and the words that you're sharing, and maybe they resonate with some parts of what you are sharing. What is it that you can say, or words of encouragement that you can share, about finding God's love even when life feels unbearable?
I believe and I know that the key in everything is to have Christ.
Mm.
It's that one key that because when you don't know Christ, the one thing that will always draw you back is that how can you ask from him? You would always ask yourself, how can I ask from him if I don't have him? Like if I'm not your son or your daughter, it's not easy for me to come and ask you for a slice of bread. Unlike if you are my parent, I would always say, but I'm hungry. Do something about it.
Mm.
I think it gives you that piece of relationship to know that I can ask anything from him. You said I can ask anything from you. If I am yours, I can ask anything from you.
Mm.
But then the other thing is that if you are a victim, I call myself and the rest that we are the unbreakable. We are the unbreakable.
Sure.
And find somebody to talk to.
Mm.
Make sure that you speak out, because if you've been told, if you are quiet, if you are not quiet, I'm going to kill you. Say something and see if that happens, because
Mm.
in 99% of it does not even happen, because most of them don't even care what happens. They move on and do it somewhere else. So
Right.
speak out so that you get your healing. Speak out. Talk to somebody. Speak out. It's important
Mm.
that you speak out, because now you have enclosed yourself. Every day you feel ashamed. Uh, and in one of the questions that you asked me is that, except being feeling like you shattered, you would always have this low self-esteem. Even when you have to excel in something, you pull yourself back and think, no, it is not for me. When I
Mm.
grow up, I always make it a joke, but it was something that used to trouble me. They used to say I was ugly until I met Christ. And I met Psalm 139, verse 14, when God says, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And I said, wow, is there a verse like this? Does it refer to me as well? I read that verse every day until I believed it.
Wow.
And
Wow.
where I stand now, it's okay if you see me being ugly. But one thing that I know is that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made.
Oh,
Before
yes.
God's eyes, I look just as beautiful.
Mm. Wow.
And that is one of the things that I taught my girls as I was raising them up, that no body shaming in my family. If you talk about my eyes, know that I don't have any power to change them to be the way you want to see them. If
Mm.
it's anything to do with my nose, my mouth, any part of my body, I am not able to change that. Tell me about
Mm.
my hair, I can plait a different hairstyle.
Mm.
Tell me about my nails, I can put artificial nails. But
Mm.
anything that God has created, you leave it as it is, because that's how He wants it to look.
Wow. Wow. You are fearfully and wonderfully made.
I am
Say
fearfully
it
and
every
wonderfully
single day until you believe it. I absolutely love
until
that,
you
Ms. Nance. Now, I want time is not on our side, and I want you to touch a little bit on Banyana Safe Haven, the work that you
mm-hmm.
do. You talk about
Yes.
speaking out, find a safe space. And we believe that Banyana Safe Haven is definitely one of those safe spaces and places, because people don't know where these safe spaces are, where to find them.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about this work that you are doing. You say that you also mentor young boys. And I want you
Yes.
to also bring that balance in. It's a two-part question, that balance in terms of allowing the young boys to hear and heal. But also there are
Mm.
some that have gone through abuse too and rape, but also just encompassing that into Banyana's safe haven and the work that you do for those that are seeking a place that is a safe space.
Yes. Regarding Banyana Safe Haven, it has always been from the traumas that I've experienced. It has always been something in my heart that, Lord, I think something can be done if I could manage to go through this and out of it. And in 2016, uh, God gave me the name. He gave me direction on how to do it. And this year in August, I launched it to say, I need to start doing this. Yes. I launched it. I saw God's power and love and everything. And after the launch, uh, we did a bra drive. We went to one high school. We donated bras. Because I even said to them, you know, these bras, I'm giving them to you because most of the time when you see somebody not wearing a bra, or even myself, if you are not wearing a bra, you don't you don't stand up. You don't you yeah, like the bra would lift you up, will
Yeah.
give you that shape that yes. Then I said to them, whatever you're going through, this bra, I'm not giving it to you because you now have to start believing in it. But like, elevate, girl, elevate, believe in yourself, do things differently, tell yourself you're going to make it in life. And in just now in end of November, I'm planning to have a retreat of girls, of women. And it's not only those who have been affected, or no, who have been um, raped or i- personal experiences. No, even if it's your mother who is going through it, or who has gone through it, or your sister, but you know how to handle the situation, how to deal with them, because sometimes you don't even know what to say to them to make them feel better, to make them feel safe. So the foundation is launching that. We're going for our first retreat. And I think I remember saying to the directors that I do not care even if it's just one person who registers. That one soul, that one person, I will go to that place and stay with them for the whole weekend. One soul in God's kingdom, the heaven rejoices.
That's right.
So for me, I I'm doing this, and one thing that God has asked me to do in everything that I could be doing over the years is that this is a place of confidence. No one should come here and feel that whatever they have said or they have done, it's in the public eye. They come here because they are broken, and they will come
Mm,
here and heal and move on and grow. So Banyana
mm,
Safe Haven, yes, it's a foundation whereby young boys and women that I have encountered with where I am now, and even those who would want to come in, it being for counseling, that they can be sure of one thing: confidence. It's not negotiable.
mm,
It is not negotiable, because it's
mm,
very important to keep somebody else's story as private as they have kept it themselves. So
mm,
yes, there are broken boys out there. Most of the time I would talk to them and refer them, because it's not easy to, especially if you are a woman, you there are things that you may not be knowing about me. So there is a foundation as well that I mostly liaise with, and some of the people that I know. And yeah, that is where it's going. But then the ultimate end is for having an apartment, even if it's many apartments, where I will where I will house a family, probably a woman who will be running away from an abusive state, with children that they will grow. When they have healed, then they need to move and start a new life while others are coming. So Banyana Safe Haven is for broken people. And yeah, I trust God that it will grow to new
Mm.
heights.
Without a doubt, not from this beautiful testimony and this journey and this vision that God has really placed in your heart. I have no doubt that it's going to flourish. It's already flourishing. The
Amen.
work is there, it's evident, and it can only go from glory to glory and greater heights to greater heights. So we really, really
Amen.
applaud you for that beautiful work that you are doing, Sis Nancy, in the community, in society. It is much needed, particularly understanding that you've left your corporate life to pursue this NPO and this life purpose. It is life purpose that God has placed you in, and the voice is needed in society. Voice is needed,
Amen.
for young boys, young girls. They need to hear this. Families, fathers, mothers. They need to hear this. They need an awakening to this so that they understand that this is real and it does affect
Amen.
lives and individuals. Now, Susnains, to wrap up, because of time, of course, please,
Yes.
just your parting words to our listeners, your parting words to all those that are watching on the Faith in Action podcast, to somebody that has gone through multiple abuse, particularly rape. They don't know what to do with themselves. They feel dirty, like you said. They no longer regard man. They cannot view God the same anymore. They feel lost and disoriented, and life must just end now because I cannot continue like this. Your parting words of encouragement, of motivation, of redirection and transformation to them, and just imparting into their lives, before we close off the episode.
Yes. One crucial and important thing is that God loves you. He loves you much more than you can imagine. So that's the one thing that you need to hold on to. If you don't know Him, seek Him until you find Him, because I know He loves you. Secondly, do not be quiet and keep the
Mm,
pain to yourself. Say it to the next person. If they don't believe you, look for another one. You may hit 10 rocks before you actually get just one person who believes your story. And if they believe your story, allow them to love you, because all that you need is love. But
mm,
never be quiet about this pain. It you are quiet than when you say something, and seek help. There's a lot of we've got SADC in South Africa. We've got a lot of counselors, and uh, we have like help is there. And I'm sure
mm,
maybe Sistina will make sure that they post numbers and where you can get help. But never be quiet about it. The more you talk about it, it's part of the journey. And like I said, it's not like my healing happened within a week. It took
mm,
years. But when God completed my healing, I knew that not going back. I and where I am today, I'm standing with power in my hands to say, you, you as well can be where I am, and even better, because God loves
wow, wow, wow. Sis Nance, thank you for such a
you. Thank you so
beautiful,
much.
beautiful outpouring of your heart unto us on this platform. We are wowed by your story. What a journey of triumph, of resilience, of power, of strength, but of
Thank
God,
you.
really, and of
Thank
purpose. And this is indeed a true testament again of turning pain into purpose. We thank you, sis,
you.
for really honoring the invite and coming through to the Faith in Action podcast to share your faith in action story, which is definitely what you have poured out to all those that are listening, to all those that were watching. Um, what a beautiful episode. And I believe that I hope that you have gleaned one or two nuggets of wisdom from what Sis Nance was sharing. If you're not the perpetrator, and if you're someone who is helping people who have gone through this, or if you're just a member of society and the community, now you have a different awakening and understanding of what this means, what it looks like, and how you can also play a role in ensuring that we contribute positively in assisting people that are going through gender-based violence, that are going through rape, abuse, and all sorts of pain, and feel that they are hopeless. Sis Nance, thank you again. To my Faith in Action podcast listeners and watchers, this is your host, Tinashe Mujera, and what an epic episode we've just had with Nance Segale, founder and CEO of Banyana Safe Haven, a place where all those that have gone through abuse, that are going through rape, can come to and find help. She is a beautiful, amazing woman of God who's ready to welcome you into our arms anytime. We'll share her details if there is anyone out there who really needs a safe space and a safe place to come to and get and find the help that they have been seeking or that they are seeking. Sis Nance, thank you again, sis. I cannot thank you enough.